Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and to this third episode on depression help. So I've called this Who Am I to Talk About Depression, and I'm actually really looking forward to getting past kind of the kind of introductory stuff and actually just getting on to sharing techniques and things. But I think if you see somebody talking about something, you kind of want to know what their qualifications are to talk on the subject. And as I've said before, and as I will keep saying in every video, I'm not a mental health professional, and if you think you're depressed or are struggling in any way with your mental health, then in the UK you should speak to your GP, or NHS 24 have psychological wellbeing practitioners, speak to some professional. And there are also lots of good books that you can read. So just speaking as a layperson from personal experience, and hopefully speaking openly on this topic will be helpful to someone. And if at least one person benefits in some way from these videos, then I'll count the time as worth it. So basically, from my point of view, I first was diagnosed with having depression when I was 16, and really probably it's something that I've got a kind of greater vulnerability to than most people. I think that's something that can be said, that's definitely true. So it's easier for me to get depressed than most people. There's also periods where I've not been depressed at all, and not on any medication, I'm not depressed at all. There's lots of theories on depression as an illness, and this illness, that illness, the other illness, whatever. So yeah, that's when I was first diagnosed, but only on meds for about 3 months or so. Then I kind of became a lot more involved in church and things like that, and was mentored by somebody who was very evangelical Christian. And this isn't a religious story that I'm not trying to, it's a religious story, but I'm not recommending religion in any way, and I'm not talking against it either. What basically what, you know, for me at that time, I kind of looked towards, I think like the idea was, you know, if you believe you're going to go in heaven, then to heaven, then nothing in life can be that bad, which is kind of a Pauline sort of theology. Don't worry about what I mean by that. Basically the author of quite a lot of books in the New Testament, maybe not all the ones that are attributed to him. So yeah, so kind of focusing on that as a way of trying to deal with feeling like rubbish. And I think that was helpful to some degree, but I also think that I kind of decided that I would never label myself as depressed again. And sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad, but I'd never label myself as depressed again. And I think that probably wasn't the wisest decision. I think there's also some guilt in religious people that they shouldn't feel depressed because of what they believe in, and I don't think that's true. I don't think you should feel guilty. There's also some ideas in some religious circles, and this is definitely a topic that I could do a whole episode on, so I probably will if people are interested. But yeah, there's ideas in some religious circles and minds that, you know, God is your healer, and so you shouldn't need anything else. Have issues with that personally, in my personal opinion, and I'll talk about that in another episode. So I remember when I was like 25 and somebody saying, I think you're a bit depressed, and that was a friend who was a medical professional but not a doctor, or a mental health professional. And I think my response was, yeah, oh no, I'm not depressed. Then basically I got diagnosed with ME, and so that was when I was like 25 or something, and Was I 25? It's so hard because I've moved so many times, done so many different things, lived so many different places. It's like it kind of messes with your timeline on things. Yeah, I think I was about 25. Started taking the same antidepressants again, so that was fluoxetine. And whoa, I still remember 27 days I felt it kick in, and it was like, wow, this is what it's like to feel alive again. And it was at that point I realized that I didn't have ME, I just had depression. And so that was it. I think what led to that was being in a relationship that wasn't healthy for either of us. So shared. I don't even like the term blame, but shared responsibility for the fact that it wasn't healthy, and I think it involved a lot of emotional stress, and I think that's really what triggered being quite depressed. So no blame. It takes two to tango, and I think if you have an imperfect relationship, then you have to take responsibility. Both people have to take responsibility for the fact that it didn't work. And that's not to say that, I'm not talking about abusive relationships that other people have where, I'm not saying if you're in an abusive relationship, then it's your fault, because it's not. You should never be abused in any way in a relationship, emotionally or physically. So what I'm saying is, if you're kind of regular people, you have a relationship, it's not successful, then you kind of have to share responsibility for that, in my opinion. So basically that was that, and then got better off meds again. I remember when I was in my first church, I started a depression anxiety support group. And at that point, I'd kind of felt as though I'd overcome depression and was enthusiastic to try and help other people do the same. Was really fortunate to be able to organize a small group of people, and actually, as little time ago as a month ago, somebody from the group messaged me and said, thanks, that was really helpful to me, and I really appreciate what you did back then. So that's really nice. It's really good to know that this small thing that I organized and people helped to run was helpful. Basically, I suspected for a long time that it was more than just depression, and as I've said in other videos, I do know way more than like your average person about neurosis, because I've read so much about it, because of personal experience. So and we like to we're the kind of Wikipedia generation. We like to try and diagnose ourselves and figure things out ourselves, and I think you really it's really great to speak to somebody who has the training, the intelligence and the experience and the objectivity to be able to diagnose you if you are struggling with something. But I do think that you can contribute thoughts and feelings towards that if you're reasonably clued up. And as I said before, I've always been really lucky that the GPs that I've had have been really willing to let me contribute ideas about what's going on and about meds and things like that. So lost my train of thought. So basically that was that period of time, on meds, off meds, okay. So there's probably about maybe a 10-year period or something that most of the time I was on meds and the same med, and reasonably successful period of time. Like, everyone had ups and downs, but was pretty productive, etc. Yeah, so suspected that for a long time that it was more than just depression, kind of getting back to what I was thinking about. And so I knew I didn't have bipolar because bipolar has psychosis, and I've never had any psychosis, thankfully. But there is bipolar 2, which is where there's periods where you're kind of more, you're really motivated and you're really getting things done and which would kind of account for why people are like, how on earth do you manage to do everything that you need to do? And then other periods where it's like, whoa, this is hard going, and feeling down and things like that. So that was a working theory. that theory was wrong. So working theory just now for me is basically recurrent depressive disorder. So that's where basically just what I've said. You're more vulnerable to getting depressed than other people, and that's why you have more episodes of depression than other people. I would say that like it takes a lot now for me to feel really bad. It took a lot to get to the point where I actually, had a breakdown. And ironically, that was from working in a charity. So, having ran 4 companies at the same time, dealt with broken relationships, blah 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 blah. Like every issue you have in life, you've got your money, your relationship, your health, your job, whatever. All of those things being wrong at the same time. But yeah, that was what it took to break me. So I kind of so in the journey of exploring what's actually going on, and what this is and what this isn't, there is quite a lot of things that point to ADHD, and indeed my psychiatrist basically wants me to be assessed for ADHD. And the only thing is, like, I went down the private line because goodness knows how long you'd be waiting on the NHS for mental health care. That's not a criticism of the NHS, it's just that they're underfunded, clearly. And then the pandemic, radically increased the demand for mental health care because, as I've said, a lot more people started to struggle that had never struggled before. So yeah, absolutely no criticism of the NHS at all. So yeah, but to get assessed for ADHD is like £1,000, and so yeah, it'd probably be good to do that at some point. But because maybe if I was on a different medication, then my brain would be firing on all cylinders all the time. I don't know, but maybe I wouldn't lose my train of thought so much. Maybe this, maybe blah 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 blah. So that's kind of where I am, and I am firing on all cylinders now. This is the best I've been for probably 4 or 5 years. Don't feel bad for me. That's life, People have all sorts of different things that they need to deal with. So yeah, I'm just making the most of firing on all cylinders and really feeling like myself, and being in a situation where not much bothers me. I care about a lot of things, but not much really upsets me, because your depressed brain's totally different from your normal brain, and everything's very serious, everything's a big deal, everything hurts so much, blah 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 blah. It's really difficult not to be irritable, because you feel really irritable because you feel so low, you feel like absolute rubbish. It takes so much effort to do anything, you're trying your best, and then if you feel like you're being treated unfairly in some way, it really hits you badly. So another thing is anxiety. Definitely had social anxiety as a teenager. Struggled with just the environment of school, struggled with college, dropped out of college twice. Grew up thinking I wasn't that smart, which is funny because after taking a few IQ tests, I found out that I'm not Einstein smart, but there's that's like highly gifted, and I'm like gifted, which is below that. So that I find that very amusing, because I didn't buy my Glasgow uni hoodie until I passed first year, because I still thought it might have been a mistake that I got in. And I remember at my graduation asking the person next to me, why is there an asterisk next to my name? And she said, that's because you either graduated with merit or distinction. And I was like, what? Wow, me? But I've been working pretty much full time during uni. And then the person was like, yeah, everyone everyone's annoyed with you because you don't seem to have to try that hard, and we're all working flat out in this, and you're doing this, that, and the other, and you're still getting really good grades. And I was just like, wow, maybe I'm not that stupid after all. So I think it'd be really cool for kids to get IQ tests, and obviously the results to be secret. But if I'd known when I was a lot younger that, I had sort of, if I knew when I was younger what my kind of IQ level was, then I maybe would have looked at, okay, so people with that sort of IQ, what do they generally do? And that might have influenced what I thought I could do. So, because when I went to uni, I was super scared. The biggest objection I had was that I'd never applied myself in school or college, and it probably turns out that I couldn't apply myself. And maybe that's because ADHD, I don't know. I think labels are helpful to some degree because it helps you make sense of a situation, helps you feel as though you're not the only one. It kind of explains things, but I also don't think you should focus too much on labels because, and I think it's okay to feel sorry for yourself for a very short time, but I think apart from that, you've just got to be determined that you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to, okay, people say you've got this or you've got that and that means this. Well, maybe that does mean that for most people, but I'm going to do this. So I think that's my attitude. Don't set limits for me of what you think I can do, because I'm setting my targets much higher than that, and I'm going to do my best. And I just think that's, if you focus too much on, oh, I've got this, or oh, I've got that, or oh, whatever it is, then you can just end up getting stuck and feeling sorry for yourself and make yourself feel worse. So I think just find a way, just do the absolute best that you can, and find a way. So anxiety, I said anxiety at school, blah, 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 blah. It's been more depression than anxiety that I struggle with, but I have struggled with anxiety. There was a period of more than a year in my last job that my anxiety was so bad that I was literally having palpitations every day. I bought an ECG monitor because I was actually worried there was something wrong with my heart, and I was frequently getting arrhythmia. I'm trying to remember all the different names for the different weird heartbeats that you can get, but frequently I was having not heart problems, but unnatural heart rhythms, and that's how anxious I felt, and that went on for days, weeks, months, probably the best part of a year, which is not great because that's probably done damage to my body, but that's a reality that I can't change right now. So I would say that when I'm abroad and relaxed, I wouldn't say that I feel any anxiety. This isn't a recommendation, but here the way I deal with it is with nicotine gum. And again, that's not a recommendation at all. But that's I smoked when I was younger. I quit when I was 21. I was off nicotine for a long time, many years. But if something really bad happens, or something, somebody dies that I really care about, or something falls apart or whatever, then if you've ever been a smoker and you've ever known the sweet relief of nicotine, it's not just that, it's also the deep breathing that you do when you're smoking. That's actually part of what makes you feel relaxed. So that's something that that's something that I've kind of if you've ever been a smoker, there's always a temptation there. Apparently it rewires your brain completely if you've been addicted to certain drugs, and when it hits the fan, then that you're kind of drawn to doing something that you know is going to make you feel better. And obviously nicotine releases dopamine, and you've got the instant relaxation feeling from smoking kind of thing. So I don't want to get back into that, so I chew nicotine gum. Last time when I was in Thailand in January for about 3 weeks, and I wasn't on it at all. There've been like lots and lots of years of my life, consistently 10 years, more than 10 years, that I haven't needed to touch it. But so I'm planning on going away for all of January, and I'm hoping that I know that after arriving there, or maybe a day in or something like that, I'll just stop using nicotine, and I know that it'll be quite easy for me for the whole time I'm there. And then hopefully once I come back, I'm relaxed enough and in a good enough position that I don't feel the need to go back to nicotine. Apparently nicotine in itself isn't bad for you, although of course there's some studies that say it is. It is an appetite suppressant, which isn't a bad thing if you're trying to get shredded. So it's not that expensive for gum or nicotine mints. But yeah, I mean, who knows? One week, or 1 year, something's not bad for you, and then they change their mind, and then it is bad for you, and whatever. It's certainly a lot better for you than vaping or smoking, that's for sure. So, but yeah, don't judge people who smoke or vape or whatever, because, I don't know how many of them, but some of them will be using it, because they're struggling in some way, because they're anxious or they're worried or whatever. And a lot of people turn to drugs, and even harder drugs. A lot of people turn to drugs who are struggling with their mental health, and they don't realize that's what's wrong, and they turn to something that makes them feel better. Thankfully, I haven't done that, but I think a lot of people that end up on hard drugs, that's what happens. I'm thinking, more like heroin and things like that make you feel good, rather than things like ecstasy or whatever that you take on a night out to amplify your night or whatever. So yeah, what would I recommend for anxiety as a layperson? I think meditation's really good. Breathing meditations are really good. So in an ideal world, back off nicotine again. I would be, if it hit the fan in some way, I would be turning to doing some sort of meditation to calm my body down, calm my mind down. That's what I would ideally be doing. But I don't have like high levels of anxiety just now, because I'm not being oppressed by anyone. There's good things and bad things that happen, but I've never really struggled dealing with that in the real world, in a normal situation. So it's just more like underlying anxiety kind of thing. So constantly chewing nicotine gum makes me feel fine. So that's working for me just now. So in 20 minutes or so, that's basically where I'm coming from, and what I really want to do is share things that I've figured out or I've learned from other people that help to fight back against depression, because I've had to do it so many times. And again, don't feel sorry for me, there's people that have got much worse things to deal with than that. So yeah, I mean, if I can use some of the crap that I've had to deal with, get through, fight back against whatever, in some way that's beneficial to other people, then that's really great. I'd like to do that. So I really hope that these videos are helpful to some people. I think I said in the first video about let me know in the comments, but unfortunately they've changed YouTube now. So if it's made for kids, which this is, you'll only hear me saying crap, because that's before the watershed. You'll hear that on TV, which means that it's not considered swearing anymore. But apart from that, I'm kind of keeping it clean because I generally try to anyway, but I wouldn't really like to exclude teenagers or kids or whatever from being able to watch these videos by it not being made for kids. And if it's made for kids, then automatically you can't comment on it. So, but yeah, if you want to give me feedback, or if there's something in particular it'd be helpful to you for me to talk about, you can hit me up on social media. My website's always at the bottom of all my videos for whatever I'm doing, and there's links to social media on there. Facebook I generally keep for people who I've actually met and know. Instagram is free for all, so if you want to follow me on Instagram or hit me up, then that's fine, and I follow everyone who follows me. I'm not trying to end up with an Instagram page where I have like 20,000 followers and I'm following 2 people. I think people kind of do that to look popular. I think like yeah, if somebody follows me, I'm gonna follow them back. So yeah. Anyway, so I'll stop waffling, and yeah, that's where I'm coming from. I hope that talking openly and frankly about stuff like this is helpful. Yeah, the next episode, which I'm really glad that I can get onto this now, because this is really what I want to do, is going to be talking about something to do with the depression that's going to be helpful to you. Let me think. I think maybe I'll do some episodes starting from breakdown. So what was it like having a breakdown, and how did I get from there to here? I think that's a good place to start, because if people end up watching my videos who are really struggling to do anything because of that bad, they might find it helpful if I share some ideas about how I got from there back to where I'm functioning very well, and I don't take that lightly at all, and to where I'm firing on all cylinders, and where I'm basically myself. So it turned out that when I was thinking, like, maybe it's bipolar 2 or something like that, because like there's periods where I'm like really productive and and people are like, how on earth can you do all the things you do? Eventually I figured out that that's just me, that's who I am. I'm very enthusiastic, I'm very motivated, I'm a self-starter, I'm not afraid to shoot high, aim high, I put 110% effort into everything that I do, and I really try so hard, and that's just who I am. That's not mania or whatever. That's who I am when I'm my full self and when I'm healthy. So it's really good to feel like that again, and hopefully that lasts for a long time. So if not, maybe I'll be watching my own videos to figure out how to get back there. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you're doing okay. Or even better than okay, I hope you're doing good. And if you're not, then hang in there. You never know what's around the corner. I've been there several times, so take care.